All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. I hope everybody's doing well this week. The weather is starting to get warmer all around. Um, you know, I had taken a couple weeks off, and I'm back at it. Last week, I had my buddy Danny on, but today I have someone very special. I mean, Danny's special, but you've already heard him before. This person is special not just because of his TV credits and movie credits. It's just the impact that he had on helping me through my career at the early stages, and being kind enough to always be there for good advice. And this is Valente Rodriguez. You might remember him from George Lopez Show. He's on the new Jamie Foxx show on Netflix. He is he's a journeyman. He's been there. He's done the series regs. He's done the movies. He's done a lot, and he's had a very fulfilling career. I feel, you've been working, and that's just like the goal is working. And Valente, thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome, George. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Journeyman. That's the life that we sign up for.
Yep.
I certainly never thought I was going to be have the success that I had in TV and film. I wanted to go theater, which is kind of like what your journey was.
Yeah.
I remember, man, it was it 15 years ago? 15 years ago? 10 years ago.
10,
okay,
yeah,
I'm old,
were,
so I get all screwed with the years.
We're both there. It was when you were there at Pan, well, UTRGV. Now it's not Pan Am anymore, but I'm stuck on Pan Am. You're doing the summer film, and you're doing the Big Dreams, Little Balls, and then you had the other two movies, Los Scavengers, and I think Gone Hollywood as well, which is a very big summer, which we'll get into, because I don't know why I've been thinking about that summer in particular and that work that you were doing. But yeah, so that was the summer before I left to New York, I think. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I think we froze.
Yeah, you're freezing up a little bit on
Am I freezing up there? Oh, no.
Internet connection is unstable, but that's okay.
Okay, we're good.
There we go.
There we go. We're good. You're good. Yeah. I think
it was a big day.
Yeah.
So I remember. Yeah, so I remember talking with you and talking with Rosa también. I see that beautiful picture behind you.
Yeah.
And you guys sounded me out outside the building. You guys were sitting on a bench, and I was sitting there talking with you guys.
I remember.
And certainly, the people that are dedicated, wherever that you can tell. You can tell. And what's important when people ask me, should I do this? Is what I do is I look at them and I see what it is that they're doing. Are you doing it now? Are you already physically involved in what it is that you say you want to do? Are you already acting? Are you already singing? Are you already dancing? Are you doing, are you getting up in church and doing presentations there? Are you doing it in your community? That sort of stuff. If you're doing that, then yeah, man, let's, I'll give you advice and I'll try and help you in whatever way to move forward. But if you're not doing that, then I have to question what it is that you want. And this, George, this thing is not easy to do, man. It is not easy to do at all.
No.
And so it's not that not that I'm hating on you or anything. It's that I'm trying to help you avoid a bad decision that's going to cost you a lot. And the most important thing is going to cost you is your time. Right. And so it's not going to get you to the places that you think it's going to get you to. And that's what I'm trying to let you know. If I see that it's not really for you. Now, I can be wrong. Sorry, I dropped my glasses. I can be wrong, ¿verdad? And you can convince me that I'm wrong. But it's a decision that needs to be inside you first. It can't be about the external world. It can't be about, I want cars, I want fame, I want red carpet, I want awards, I want blah. It's got to inside. It's got to be about what I need. What do I need to be happy? What do I need to feel good? What do I need to move forward? What do I need world? What do I need to take from this world to feed me that I can give back to this world and give back, right?
Yeah.
And when I see those things inside the person, then I go, okay, great, you're at the right place, because there's no guarantee of financial success or even critical success for that matter.
No.
And I tell you, I hate to audition. I say, you better love to audition, because that might be the only chance you get to act. All right. You might never get the freaking part. So view your audition as that, right? View your audition as that. And really that's your work. Because once you get the job, you got the job. Then you go do the work and it's on tape. Right?
There's this thing where
if you want to peak, where you really want to peak is at your, because that gets you want to be, you're talented and you want to give back to the world and all that. You do want to peak at your job.
It's there's this man, I don't know what's going on here, but what you said exactly right now about auditioning, like if you say you don't like auditioning, 10 years ago, actually no, it was 11 years ago, because it was 11 years ago, because it was my last semester at Pan Am, and you came in to talk to our class, and we were talking about it was just the industry, and you brought that up about auditioning, and hold on. I don't know what. All right, there we go. Yeah, no, are we good now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Keep going though.
No. But what you were saying was about the auditioning. At that point, I knew that auditioning was a thing, and it has stayed with me. And I think that's what has helped me through this career, is what you said that day in class, is like, if you love acting, that audition, whatever it is, in that 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, like if it's commercial auditions, you're in and out. And it's just, you're in and out. That's acting. And one of the things you said, for you, it was LA. You said, you know what? You've gone into several auditions where, you did your thing, you auditioned for a part, and you just walked out and said, you know what? I just spent 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 15 minutes if you're lucky, and I acted in LA. I acted.
Yeah.
And I carried that over with me into my career. And if you fast forward, Bryan Cranston almost says the exact same thing in a video, which both of you it's helped me stay grounded in the fact where it's like, your job as an actor is to act, and auditioning is acting. The work is auditioning. If you get the part, then that's the fun part. You know what I mean? Like that you're lucky you get to do that, but you leave it all in that room, because that's your moment to shine. You go in there, you create that world, you do your thing, then you leave and you forget about it, and if you get it, you get it. And I tell, this is another thing I want to ask you in a little bit, is when random, newer people wanting to get into the industry ask you questions, but that's the first thing I always say, because that's what you told me. And that's the one thing that's always rung true, is that you're going to audition. And that's right now, my life. I'm happy if I get an audition right now, because of, especially post pandemic and COVID and all that stuff. Like, I'm lucky. Like, I get excited, like, oh my gosh, like, it's a production. I've had 2 auditions in the last 4 weeks. And that I just felt like, man, that was awesome. Yeah. And then that's it. Like, I'm not going to sit around and dwell on if I got the part or not, because there's so many different factors that go into casting, which a lot of people don't understand. And you're 100, like, it's hard for people to understand, especially in this social media, TikTok, Instagram, influencer world, where people become famous overnight for nothing. And a lot of people see that and think that that's going to be easy. It's going to be just like that. And the reality of this is, like, man, there's a lot of factors that go into this business. You've been in this since the 90s. And how many people have you seen? I mean, I've been at this like quote unquote professionally. So I've been at it for 6 years, really professionally. And I look up to you because I'm a journeyman. There's that documentary, that guy who was in that thing. You remember that? Did you ever watch that? That's me. Like when people ask if I've been in anything else, like, let me tell you, my career is that guy who's in that thing. You don't know my name, but you that guy. Yeah, you can watch people all the time say, "Hey, you're in Chicago PD on Ion or whatever random channel that's having a marathon." I'm like, that's my career, and I'm happy with that. And it's one of those things where it's like, you wonder how you can have, I don't know, 50 credits under your name, and then a new person comes into town, a young kid. No, 0 credits, and all of a sudden they're signed with CAA, WME, and they book a series reg. It's like, how does this even work? There's no rhyme or reason, and it's at that point where it's like, I'm not even trying to figure out this industry anymore. There's just no right or wrong way.
There isn't. And going back to what do you do after the audition, right? How do you feel after the audition? Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel bad, right? Sometimes you think, man, that's the best I've ever done. Sometimes, and most of the time, you walk out going, oh, I should have done this. Oh, I should have done that. I laughed too long. I didn't cry enough, whatever the hell it is. But this is what I do. And I figured this a while back because it was being a problem, is I give myself, and because it's LA, I'm driving everywhere. I give myself home to audition, and then once I get home, that's it. It's done. It's gone. I try not to think about it again. I let it go, but I do allow myself those, and it's usually about an hour. It's about an hour of I should have done this. I should have done that. I repeat the lines. This would have been better. Blah, 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 and then I let it go, because you're right. You walk out, and so here's the deal about auditions. You get the call to go see the casting director, and then you're good enough, and then you move up a little bit, and you get the same audition, but now you're in front of the show and the producers and the casting director, and you do good enough, and then you get another call back, and now you're in front of the network and the blah 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 blah, and if you make it all the way to testing, where it's usually 1 or 2 or 3 of you left for this big part, right? You've already come through 5 or 6 auditions. For George Lopez, I did 7 auditions, right? And so by the time you get there, you need to understand, and this is also a very important thing for a young actor to understand, any actor to understand. By the time you get to that point, you're one of the people they've chosen. You don't get there out of luck.
No.
Somebody else might have, with an important name might have, and that does happen. It happens everywhere in any business. A cement business, the son of the cement guy will get a job at a cement plant. That's how it goes, right? But you, who do not have an important name behind you, have made it all the way to the end. And that should give you enough strength and enough confidence in yourself to say, I got something they like. Right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do the best I can and get that part, right? And so then you do the audition and you go away, and you get a call, and they say you didn't get it because you're too short, you're too tall, you're too fat, you're too brown, you're not brown enough, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 blah. Your energy didn't jive with the other dude, you're whatever. Whatever it is, I can't control that. I control what I can do in my job, and then that's it. And so in audition, that's my whole, and as an actor, and because I have been at it for 30 whatever years, I've developed these things in my head so that I can stay sane. Because, excuse me, going insane is a very real thing. And I am talking about people who have actual depression and other clinical problems, because you are in a place where you, the individual, are the thing that you're putting out there. It's not like you're a writer and somebody can look at you and say, I don't like what you've written, right? They're talking about an abstract object over here somewhere. They're looking at you and saying, I don't like you. So that's hard.
Well,
that's hard to hear, especially for actors who always want to be patted on the back, right?
Yes, and we're already fragile as it is because
Right,
we're
yes,
seeking approval. Yeah, exactly.
yes,
We're seeking approval. I
yes.
think to add on to um I don't know if it's a strategy of where we say you get to act
Right.
in that 3 minute that like that's your chance to act, and when you walk out you leave. The one thing I always also tell people, because I had a friend who had, well, for me, I mean, well, let's just say for my friend, brand new to the business, had the opportunity to get to two tests,
Mhm,
zero professional credits, but like two screen tests, like I already like top choice.
mhm,
And they were bummed because they didn't get the part.
mhm.
And they're like, man, what's wrong with me? I was like, let me tell you something. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. What you need to remember is that also when you get to act for those 3 or 4 minutes, you don't think about booking. Like Yul Vasquez told me in one of the earlier episodes, he's like, don't use the word booking. You're working. You're doing your thing. You're just letting them know that you exist.
Mhm.
And if you got to that point where you're getting callback after callback and then producer session and screen test, it's like you're on their radar. They're trying to
Yep.
figure out where to put you. And I said, for me, and as in my example, I don't go in thinking that I'm going to book every single thing. I just want to remind them that I am here
Yep.
and you can work with me. And guess what? It's building up relationships, saying, hey, we don't know where this person's going to fit, but we're going to find a place to fit them
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
That's the thing that a
And
lot of people don't understand, because they think about just it's not about like home runs. It's base
yeah,
hits. It's
it's
loading
singles.
it up,
It's
and then
single.
you'll
And
get a
here's the
grand
deal.
slam.
And here's the deal.
Yeah,
Sometimes, and I'm glad you made this baseball analogy,
yeah,
sometimes you don't even have to get a hit. You
yeah.
just have to get a good at bat. And they'll look at
Yes.
that and go, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was really good. I can't get him this part though, because this dude was better. But
Yeah,
he's really good. I'm
yeah,
gonna keep him in mind for the next part and the next part and the next part. And the more you keep going up there, the more you keep going up there. Here's the other thing. The more you keep getting up to the top place, the more comfortable you feel.
mm-hmm.
And the more comfortable you feel, the better job you're going to do.
Yeah,
And so, again, like a mechanic, like a batter, like a ball player, the more you do what it is that you do, the better you're going to get at it, right?
yeah,
The circumstances change. You go from little league, then to high school ball, then to
yeah,
larger ball, then
yeah,
eventually you're trying to get to the big leagues, right?
yeah.
But the more experience you have in that, the better you're going to be. The better you're going to be.
Absolutely.
And you're right, we are very fragile. And part of what we have to do is tell ourselves these kinds of things so that we can move on to the next place. Because seriously, even as an actor who's worked for years and years and years, there have been many times where, man, it's been 3 months and I haven't worked. It's been 6 months and I haven't worked. It's been a year and I haven't worked.
Yeah,
What the hell is going on, right?
yeah,
And so we have to be kind to ourselves first of all,
yeah.
because the business is such that most of the time we're seeing no, we're hearing the word no. 90% of the time
Yes,
you're not going to get the job.
yes,
That's just the way it
yes,
is. And so how you
yes.
deal with disappointment is a really, really cool thing. Um,
It.
to trying to understand, because here's a beautiful thing I love about acting. I get in
Yeah,
my head all the time, and I'm gonna rant and rave, which is the way I love to talk.
yeah. No, go for it.
So you're a detective, you're a psychiatrist,
Yes.
you're a mechanic all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You get this piece of paper that has words on it, and you look at it and you say, okay, who is this dude? And you do dissect it, you take it apart, and all of this stuff you learn as you've learned in school, and that's why it's important to go to school. Now, some people are born to it, yes. Some people just got talent shooting out their ears, yes. Beautiful, great. However, that's like 0.00001%. And if you think you're that person, you're not that person.
You're not that person at
That
all.
person
Yeah,
already knows, and they're already out there making music at 3 years old or playing
yeah,
Tchaikovsky or whatever. They're already there.
yeah,
So what it is for you is you need to learn how to do this. The more educated you, the more things you know, the better you are at it. And then you move along your journey to where it is you want to go.
yeah.
Now, here's the other thing. You need to love acting. If you love the other things, go get the other things. There's easier way to get the other things than through acting, because acting will probably, if you look at the numbers, it's not going to support you.
No,
it's not. That's just the way it is. The majority of us don't make a whole bunch of money.
Which is perfect example. You and I have traded our residuals pictures, like 2 cents. I have a whole, like when people hear that I'm on HBO, I was a recurring on an HBO series.
Money.
And the thing is, you have to remind, Valley gente, like, hey, I'm not rich. Let me show you what I did for HBO, and boom, $2. Like, I have a whole string of residuals right
it's
now.
Enough for 2 tacos at Stripes, carnal.
If you're lucky. I had like a total of, I had the email today said I had $2.53 deposited from HBO. That's all my HBO residuals. So thank you, Sarah Jessica Parker. For that.
Yeah. But here's the flip side of it, though. Here's the flip side. So I did a commercial for man, I forget now. I think it was Pizza Hut. No, 7-Eleven. Anyway, it was a commercial. Yeah. And I walk and here, this is how crazy the business can be.
Yes.
I go to a commercial, and I've been on $100 million films, right? I go to this commercial and I do the thing and I get the job. And the job is I'm eating a hot dog as fast as I can. And it kind of looks pornographic. And the commercial's not playing anymore, so I'm glad. Yeah. But it's, I don't know, 3 seconds on 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it turns out it went to national commercial, and then it played, and it was during some sporting event. I forget what it was. It might've been the World Series or something. I think it was the World Series, because it was a hot dog. And they played that thing crazy. And so, yeah, that one check, one job, that's enough for the whole year.
Well,
that's how much money it was.
That
was enough for the whole year.
You mentioned like not working, for longer periods of time. I'm going to ask you a couple follow-ups to that. Is, first of all, a statement is I haven't worked in 2 years as of June 11th. I haven't worked, but that was a commercial that I was on. If you really pay attention, it's one of those things. If you're watching, it's people usually watching home and gardening TV. Right. It's a commercial. Yes, it's with Cyndi Lauper. I'm playing her driver. Nice. And that commercial has taken care of us since June of 2019 through this pandemic. And I was in there for nothing, whereas I was a recurring on an HBO show, and I'm not getting anything for that. $2. Like, and it's just like, and it's not like we're rich, but it's just like this business makes no sense. And this is an era now where commercials aren't paying like they used to, because they found out, we can go new media, we can go just internet only, or it's just a regional. Yeah. Or companies are getting smart or shiesty, whatever way you want to look at it, and they create their own little umbrella company, and they'll shoot what would be or should be a national, do a non-union buyout for like $2,000 and not pay any residuals. It's just so crazy. But what is the longest you've gone without working? Because a year and a half. So I'm getting close to 2 years. So how did you deal? Was this post George Lopez or before George Lopez?
It was that was the cool thing. If there was going to be a cool thing, it was after George Lopez, and it was kind of sort of self-imposed, because it was when my son was born, and then here's the other thing. So I had just come off of George Lopez, and the last year we were on, 2007. We had gone into syndication. Yeah. And so from 2002, since 2002, George Lopez has actually been on the air all the 20 whatever years, right? Yeah. So in 2007, when we got canceled, and then we were already going into syndication, money was coming in, I didn't have to do anything. And my son had just been born. And so I really didn't freaking care if I worked. I actually didn't want to work.
Yeah.
I was in a really good place because I had just come
Yeah.
out from working a whole bunch. I'm like, I need a vacation, forget that.
Yeah.
And so, but then after a year, I was like, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
used to be an actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then other things started going along. And then as I get older now, the times I go between working sometimes have gotten longer in stretches because I was doing a lot of TV episodic, the guest star or the co-star,
Co-star, yeah.
But as well, I'm aging as well. And so as I'm getting older, the parts that I'm auditioning for are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because the pool of parts, the biggest pool of parts is that, somewhere like between 15 and 28 or something like that. It's pretty young. It's younger than 30 for sure.
Yes.
And so you get that age where the parts are smaller.
Yeah.
Now there are less actors competing as well.
Yeah.
Certainly that young pool's got a ton of actors because you have a lot of people who are not trained or just want to be famous or whatever. But that's another reality of the business. You and I were talking about the Rio Grande Valley and the young actors there and the really, really young actors there and the parents and this idea of what do you do when you think you have a young individual who wants to act? How do you handle that? Because there are a lot of, and on the business side of the industry, there are a lot of people who will take advantage of individuals in order to make money.
Yeah.
And so someone who knows the industry, who also understands the business side, would be a good person to sound out on what do I do if I have a kid that's interested in being an actor, because the first reality is it's going to cost you money. That's the very first reality. It's going to cost you money and it's going to cost you time, right?
Yep.
And so the first thing I say is there some place they can already do that right now? Let them do that first. But you don't want to hamper them, right? Because it could be these guys could be have a career and have success and it all be great, because it happens. It does freaking happen, right?
It does. I'm personally at a I'm on the fence about that since moving back, because I think we had spoken like briefly about maybe teaching kids and stuff. I had horrible experiences in New York, not personally, but I witnessed them. I mean, you've been to auditions where they're casting several things. And I saw a lot of, I've been like in auditions where there was like children, and you have the momagers and the dadagers. And, I sat in those waiting rooms, like watching, like it was just, like they say to like to distract yourself before an audition, or just like, you want to just not overthink the audition. Like I'm watching these parents and I'm like, who is this for more, the parent or the child? And I once again, we're in that age where YouTube famous, Instagram famous, TikTok famous, like that's just like fame is a thing. And it's just like, yeah, people are going to think about the money, but you're exactly and absolutely right, where if people come up and ask me if about hey, could you coach my kid, like I have to really know the family first off, because I won't do it. I really will not work with kids, not because I don't have the patience to work with kids. It's just I don't have the patience for the parents. It sounds awful to say, but the parents usually are the ones. It's just like the little league parents, or the youth sports parents. Like, who's it for? Are you trying to relive your old football glory, through the Pop Warner football, or I just want to gauge it. If I know the family and I know them pretty well, like like you have compadre, like like people you grew up with, like hey, or if they have just little bits of like, hey, do you have any advice for my child, or and they're like high school age, I'm like, yes, I can absolutely help with that. But you're right, like if they're able to partake in any sort of acting, whether it's like a little fun workshop. I know that Brian Warren had, the children's theater camp,
Mhm.
they would do that. Like, do that, see if they actually like it,
Mhm.
or they're just going through the motions, and I remember when I was like 10 years old, I wanted to be a rapper, and I realized I don't have the charisma to do that,
Right.
or
Right.
at
I want to be a
that time.
basketball player. It's not gonna
Exactly.
happen.
Exactly. So yeah, it's really hard. But then, there's just some kids where they might have it. They
Right.
might have it, and you don't want to hamper that. It's just
Mhm.
also, there's just the ball and chain of the parents. Like, usually it's the
Yeah.
parents that ruin the child. And you see that all the
Yeah.
time. Like, look, there's a whole movie that Shia LaBeouf directed, or like not directed, he wrote, called Honey Boy, about
Mhm.
that experience. And
Mhm.
it's a crazy thing for me to see with children, child actors down here in the valley.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And the other thing is that, especially when they're very young,
mm-hmm,
you know, if you want if you want this to be your life, if you want this to be your career,
mm-hmm,
then you need to take the step. Approaching it slowly is better than diving in,
yeah,
because it's going, like I said, it's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you time, and if you're dealing with a young person and you're the parent, that relationship is going to be completely different.
yes,
Completely different. It's going to change, especially if they start being successful. It's going
yeah,
to be completely different. And so what I say is, let your kid be a kid. And if they're still interested as they grow to 14, 15, 16, 17, and they show that they're interested,
yeah,
that instead of playing video games, they're in the one act play, or
yeah,
they're in the UIL, or they're
yeah,
in the Christmas pageant, or they're in the, all this other
yeah,
kind of stuff that is readily available for all.
mm-hmm,
Not going to cost you a lot of money to
yeah,
find out. Then pursue it after that, right? I have a friend
absolutely,
in San Antonio actually who said, he's a coach, and he said, you know what? One of the things I do with these parents, I
uh-huh,
charge them a lot of money,
yeah,
a lot of money,
yeah,
so that they understand that it's going to
yeah,
cost them a lot of money,
yeah,
and they are serious about what it is. He says, I still try and get between the child and the parent, and the language that he uses to one is not the language that he uses to the other.
yeah,
The language that he uses to the student is one of an artistic language.
mm-hmm,
We're going at it from the artistic side. What does this character want? What does this character need? How does that feed the world? Have you ever had an experience like that? What
mm-hmm,
do you think those experiences mean to you? Does that make you love? Does that make you hate? That sort of stuff. With the
yeah,
parents, it's completely business, you
yeah,
know, so that they understand the time and all this, and how hard it's going to
yeah,
be in order to do that. Um, and then also, he has a talk with them about um, the relationship that you need to have with your child in order to do this, and the duality of that. Because as parents, we all understand when we need to be serious and when we need to joke, when we need to be harsh about a rule that we've set that our children
yes,
has broken,
yes,
or when we need to understand that it was an accident and just let it go by, because
yeah,
it's part of life, right?
yeah,
And so, like I said, as an actor, we're detectives, we're psychiatrists, we're mechanics, we're all of these things, and the biggest work we're going to do is not on a character, but on ourselves,
yeah,
in order to try and understand ourselves a little better, to then be free to jump to these other places, to this guy that's a mechanic, to this guy who's a lawyer, to this guy who's a priest, and all this other kind of stuff.
yeah,
I grew up, and I didn't know this, but as I look back in my life, I think I grew up as a kid with ADHD.
yeah,
Uh, I have all the traits, and I
yeah,
now as an adult, I understand all of that kind of stuff. And so part of the world that I fell in love with was this place where I could be a this, I could be a that, I could, the little butterfly that, I go to here, no, I want to do that, no, I want to be the jailer, no, I want to be the lion, no, I want to sing the song, no, I want, that
yeah,
kid. And theater, really, acting,
yeah,
really meshed with who I was.
yeah,
And to an extent, it kind of sort of saved my life. Not that I was, drowning or anything, but
Yeah.
it gave me a light to move towards.
Yeah.
And in that, to me, more than the money, more than the fame, more than that sort of success, the difference is made in myself and who I am and how I view the world and
Mhm.
how I relate to people. That's the biggest thing that acting has brought me,
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate. I was very, very, very blessed, very lucky. Not just that I was successful, but that I went to Pan Am, UTRGV, that I
Yeah.
went to Ed Cachosa, that I had teachers like Ken Smither, like Marion Monta, like Doug Cummins, like Dr. Holly, like, all of these people, that I met individuals like you,
Yeah.
because even you and Rosa have played a part in my journey towards who I am, right?
Yeah.
And so that, if you were to take out the fame and the money,
Yeah.
just that would be worth the whole journey,
Yeah.
the whole journey, right?
Yeah.
Now we all have to pay bills, so we got to do something for a living to
Yeah.
pay bills, right? But it's a lot easier when you're having this kind of journey than when you are just reacting to the world and just paying bills. It makes you question, what the heck is this about?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah. I
And I
think,
think that the COVID thing, the whole pandemic,
yeah,
serves to teach us a lesson. We're here for each other. We better be here for each other, because we'll go crazy without each other.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I talked about earlier about how it's going on almost 2 years exactly since I
Mhm,
worked last.
mhm,
And I created this podcast. If people have been watching or listening, out of, fear that I might not ever work again, or I might die. First of all, I thought
right,
I had
right,
COVID.
right,
I thought
right,
I was
right,
going to
right.
die. But also it was like, was I ever going to work again? And I'm sure you've gone through it too. We're human beings, whereas, a month turns into 2 months, turns into 6 months to a year, and you're not even getting any calls for auditions.
Mhm,
Start thinking, man, am I out of this industry? Am I out? And literally on that very last weekend of February, it was because, February was the 28th, 29th, whatever it was. It was on a Sunday. So that Sunday. So if we work backwards to Saturday, Friday, Thursday, it just so happened like life just wanted to kick me. While I was down, I just started seeing people working,
mhm,
booking this. And that's another evil about social media, is that if you are not mentally strong enough to handle seeing other people's success, and they're your friends, you should be
mhm,
happy for them. Everybody's success is our success, like, especially if they're in your circle. And I started seeing one thing after another, and that just brought me down. And I'm thinking, man, am I out of the game? And it got to a point where I just started getting really just down. And March 1st was a Monday. I was like, you know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to just start exercising. I'm going to like get my mind right.
mhm.
And, it's just that was March 1st. It's already April 20th. So I've been at it for like 50 some days. And throughout this time, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I have not worked in 2 years. Well, June 11th, my daughter was about 15 days old. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Or 20, almost, like she was born on May 25th. So she was almost 20 days old. I have been there every step of the way of
mhm,
her journey.
mhm.
How many fathers can say they got to
Right.
witness her first words,
Yep.
her first steps,
Mhm.
every single thing, every
Yep.
single doctor's appointment? I have been there to witness that. And yes, I haven't worked. And do I think sometimes, yeah, maybe the industry might be done with me? Jokingly, yes.
Mhm.
But realistically, no. I
Right.
really don't think I'm done. I just feel like in this phase of my journey is like you said, hey, I'm not hurting for cash. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's not like, we're very smart with our money. Like, that's one of the things, like every check we get, we act like that's
Right.
the last check I'm gonna get, so we're super, super just careful with the expenses. But I'm trying to enjoy this moment with my daughter, while also like starting to think about, okay, what things can I do in order to do what you said, be in it,
Mhm.
act, tell stories. And that brings me back to that summer where you had not only one movie you're working on, you're doing 3, one with the school and then the other 2 that you brought down. And it's just like, how fulfilling was that experience where you're actually doing something? You know what? I created this. Whatever happens to it, whether it gets picked up for distribution or it just ends up, on my shelf as a DVD or VHS or whatever it ends up being. Like, how fulfilling is that? Because I'm currently doing that right now with my writing. Mine is a novel instead of, an actual, see, well, I'm working on a series, but it's like, how fulfilling was that for you at that point in your career?
It was over the top. It was the most fulfilling, other than my son. It was crazy. It was the most fulfilling thing there was, because again, so I met you, I met Rosa, I met Edwin, I met all those people that were
Talented.
Right, all the people that were in Pass, and then a lot of those people I brought to the movie. And then cast in the Rio Grande Valley as well.
Yep.
And so it was crazy good. But here's the thing. So in the middle of it, it's hard. It's freaking hard, because I was doing that. And then one of the things I had told the production team is, okay, there's a couple of things we don't want to do. We do not want to do. We don't want to shoot in Texas in summer. Right? It's okay. We're not going to do that. Of course, we end up shooting in the dead of freaking summer.
Which is, for those of you who have never been to South Texas, it's about 105 to 115 feel. Like it's
and a little humid, humid.
Very humid. It's bad. It's hot right now.
And you have the cicadas, the chicharras. And so the chicharras, for those of you who don't know, it's this sound. All over your sound. All over your sound, brother. You can't. It's like you're in the flight path of an airport. You cannot get rid of it. And so anyway, extremely hard work. That's the little would get all empapado, all moist with their sweat, and it would crackle, and just crazy hard. But I look around, and all of these people from the Rio Grande Valley, my crew, all the actors, all this, they're all working hard. A lot of them harder than I am, working hard hours, working 16, 18 hours, staying after we're shooting to try and fix the generator, because tomorrow morning we got to be here at 6 a.m. Blah, blah, blah. The other people are over there cooking the tacos because we have all of this crazy thing. Beautiful, like a circus, like a well-run machine that's moving forward. However crazily it's moving, but it's moving forward, right? And so we finish and we do the films, and they're edited, and there's a little success here, a little success there. They're all done and they're all out, but there's still maybe something to come with Scavengers. There's talk about perhaps a series. We'll see how that goes. And it would be cool. But here's the thing. The joy I get from that is that now 10 years later, there's you. There are other people, Edwin, there's Ryder, and a lot of people from them came to LA to a place called the House on South Bronson.
Ali.
And so a lot of those guys, and actually I think all of them at the beginning, were part of our crew, or part of that summer in some way. And now Ali's gone. He's working Westworld, or he was last time I heard, right? And Edwin's now a cinematographer, and he's doing his own stuff and shooting all over the place. And so that sort of growth, that's amazing. And to think that these guys would probably gotten there anyway, but their experience with me kind of fed their energy, kind of fed their resolve towards moving to where they wanted to go. And I certainly had a talk with both of those guys and said, just like I said to you, I said, look, what I see from you is you're ready to move to the next place. How successful you're going to be, who knows? It depends on how hard you work and all the whatever it is that you do. But at this point, I see an individual who knows what they want to do, who's dedicated, and who's hardworking. And that's great. That's most of all you need. Be nice, and that's probably all you need. Then to move on to the next place, whether you have success, who knows? And so there is where, and what I told most of the young people that I work with who are looking at me like, oh my God, it's like, look, don't put me up on a pedestal. What I want to be eventually is a footnote in your story. I want you to be a greater success than I am. And that's how we move forward.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we move forward. And it's not, you were talking earlier about, and yeah, I do understand, and we all have egos, and yeah, it hurts when you're up for a part and your friend gets it, especially if you're up for the same part they are, right? It's a whole other thing if they're auditioning for something that you would never get. Okay, they got it. I'm glad. Let's go to dinner. Your treat because you're working, right? Okay, your treat.
Yeah, always, always. Yeah.
Buy the drinks. But again, as an actor, another thing that I've learned is I need to look in the mirror and be completely honest with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to allow myself certain feelings so that they don't fester and grow into something even larger.
Yes.
Always be kind and always be nice. I try as much as possible, but I do let myself go to places like, why am I not working? Why am I? Yeah, totally, completely. And to deny that means to deny what it is that your potential. And that's the really beautiful part of being human, is that, look, nobody's perfect. We're all wonderfully fractured individuals. And it's even more amazing that in times, some of us transcend those individuals that we are and end up producing amazing works, novels, music, film, paintings, all sorts of things, right? And so that's what makes it truly amazing when we do end up creating these things that are beyond us. We transcend, we get close to seeing what our potential is. And that's completely exciting. And we all have seen performances that we, oh my God, I can't, or we cry or we laugh or whatever the thing may be.
Absolutely.
That right there is where I think, for me, the connection between acting and life is the most important. That idea that as an audience, I need to see something that's going to take me to those places. As an actor, I need an audience to take to those places. And so we need to work together to get to the place that we need to get to this hopefully cathartic place that will wash over us and we'll experience together, and we'll be friends because we've gone through this thing together, and we'll be kind to each other, and we'll live in a much beautiful world. Doesn't mean we're not going to have problems, and we might even be fighting with each other. But we'll only go so far because we know each other. And we'll know that there comes a place where we got to go, okay, man, I'm sorry about what I said. We're still friends, right? Yeah, we're still friends. Okay. I still don't like the way you voted, but that's fine. Let's move on. Because dude, seriously, the world is a better place when you're kind, a much better place when you're kind.
Yeah.
And if we don't work together on the problems that we have, we're never going to resolve the problems.
Absolutely. That's a thing that a lot of people also take for granted or don't even think about in this industry, is that, like a lot of the amount of what you work is also based on how you treat people, how you are on set, how you treat, the producers, the PAs that have to, you never know if one of those PAs is working on their own projects and they will come back and create something. They'll remember you.
Yes.
That's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah. That's happened to me. Yeah.
And you never realize that. And, I'm sure LA was just like New York, where yes, it's a big industry, but it's small community at the same time. And you will work with the same crew members on many different projects, whether it's a film, whether it's a TV show, you will work with the same people, and that they talk in production meetings. It's like, oh yeah, Valente, he does this, or Chapa, he's good with, he's a dream to work with. I'd like to think that they think that of me, but it's just like the people don't realize that. And there's that famous saying that people say is like, if you're an asshole to work with, it's just like, you'll work at every one of the theaters in this city once.
Yeah.
You can work. You have the talent to get into the theater, but then once they work with you, that's the last time. They don't want to. People just don't realize that. And I think that that's, like your kindness, and you, man, you didn't have to talk to me. You didn't have to like sit. This was summertime when we were on that bench. Remember, it's hot, man. You didn't have to talk to us outside of there, but you did. You didn't have to take time out of your day during that summer to, talk to the class and do like a little, lesson, or even just like show a little something. You didn't have to do that, and that just goes to show, like, you didn't have to like employ, college students. You could have gone out your budget and gotten people who've been doing it forever. It's like, no, this is an opportunity that a lot of them took with them. A lot of them I'm trying to work with now. We're trying to create stuff now. And people just don't realize that. And I have to say thank you for that, and it's just been an example that I've been trying to lead by, like, you and David Barrera, like, really, I still have not met David Barrera in person. And we've Zoomed, on the podcast once, but he was there to like, he listened to my message. He read my messages, and he gave me advice. He's like, look, there's no right or wrong way. And it was the same summer I was speaking to you. And, it's just, that's what kind of, helped me make my decision on, what, I'm going to go to New York. That's where I want to go. I'm going to audition for grad schools and see where it takes me from there. And then, it's really interesting. And, I'd say you're a pioneer too. You're one of the first from the Valley who really, made it feel possible that we could do this. And since you've done it, it's amazing to see the talent that has come out of the Valley, and it's still coming out of the Valley. Like, there's people like I see in the monitor from McAllen that are younger than me, and I'm like, oh, they just got this series regular on Hulu, and they're hosting a screening during the pandemic, but in the parking lot of Mackay. And I'm like, who's this girl? I don't even know her. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. And the really cool thing is to think that somebody from the Rio Grande Valley would have the courage to apply to NYU and move to New York freaking city to change their whole freaking life to follow a dream. Right? That takes courage. And that's the other thing I tell young actors. This is not what I tell people that I think have the talent or the dedication or the wherewithal to become an actor. What I say to them is, look, it's the first thing it takes, the very first thing it takes is courage. The first thing it takes is courage. You have to have the courage. If you can't work up the courage, then perhaps it's not for you. Right? Go do something else. There are like I said, there are other ways. But the first thing it takes is courage. If you can't take that first step, if you can't do that, then the next steps you got to take are even bigger. So if you can't do that first jump, then back away and go get more ready. Go get ready to take that first step, right? Go do what it is you need to do. Do you need more money? Is that what it is? You can't afford to move to New York. You need more money? Well, get more money. Do you think you need more experience? Well, go take more classes, whatever the case may be. But if you can't get to that first step, I want to save you time and money and frustration and ego bashing and all those other things that actors go through, and tell you, please just don't do it, man. Go do something else. There are other things. Go become an airplane pilot. Go become a fishing captain. Go become something different, right? And then the other thing that I tell somebody is, look, why do you work? Why is it that you work? Okay, they'll say, I work so I can get money. To do what? Well, I love to go fishing. Okay, all right. You love to go fishing. So that's why you work. You get money so that you can go fishing, to go do the things that you love to do. What if you could do the things you love to do and get paid for that? Wouldn't that be great? That would be great. So how do you figure that out? How do you figure that out? Now, if you're an actor and you would rather go fishing, well, then don't be an actor, brother.
No.
Go fishing, or combine the two. Go to South Padre Island, go fishing all the freaking time and become really good at it. get yourself a little GoPro, film yourself fishing, put it
Yeah.
out on the internet, and everybody will come and pay you hundreds of dollars to take them fishing. And then
Yeah.
you make a show and then you sell it to whatever, right? And so that first step, that courageous step, is the thing that gives you those kinds of ideas.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to
Yeah.
start a fishing show. I'm going to do this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't have that kind of flame, that kind of passion, that kind of fire inside you,
Yeah.
it's going to be tougher. It's not that you can't get there. You remember that old quote, some people are born great, some people become great, and some people have greatness thrust upon them.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want it, they will
Yeah.
get fame and stuff thrown at them, even if they
Yeah.
don't want it. Those are some people. That's probably
That's
not you.
Yeah.
So
No. At least not right now. Nothing's
now.
been thrust upon
Maybe
me.
later.
Yeah.
So what is it that you need to do to be happy? Can I make money at that?
Yeah.
How do I live the best life that I can? How do I live the happiest that I can?
Yeah.
Those 2 years you haven't worked have been well spent, in that's the time that you spent bonding with your wife and with your kids and with your community and with all the people that you bond with, right?
Yeah.
That is worth a ton more than any money you could have made while you were acting. Now, maybe you could have acted 3 or 4 days and made millions of dollars. That would have been great.
That would have been great. Or it could have been one of those things where I hadn't worked in so long and I finally do book it, right? I get the job, the quote unquote, the life changer, the series reg, the coveted series reg, but it shoots in Vancouver for 10 months out of the year. My family's in South Texas. They can move with me.
Exactly, brother. They can move with you. They can move with you. A quick little story on audition and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm doing a movie with Matt LeBlanc.
Okay.
Matt LeBlanc from Friends.
Yeah.
And so he's talking about we're actors. We're talking about audition, blah 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 blah, career and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, man. So I had this one series, and he'd made some good money, and then he turned around and he went to Marina Del Rey and got a condo and got the furniture and got the SUV and got the blah 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 blah. Then the show was canceled. Then he didn't work for a month, and then 2, and then 6, and then a year, and then wow. And so then eventually he's like, you know what? F this, I'm going to go home. And he got an airline ticket, and he said, for the last month, what he was doing was he was selling off. He had bought really expensive furniture, so he was selling off a piece at a time to pay his rent and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And so he called his agent and he goes, "Man, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going home."
Yeah.
And his agent says, "Well, I got this audition for you tomorrow." And he goes, no, I'm done. I'm flying out tomorrow and I'm going home. And he goes, "Come on, man, just go. This very last audition, just go. Who knows what's going to happen? Just go."
Yeah.
And so he goes to the audition. Of course, that was the audition for Friends.
Life-changing.
I tell you that story to show you don't need to see, but to show the audience or the people that are listening, how crazy this business is, such that
you never know.
You don't have to hit a home run. Sometimes the ball just hits you.
Yeah.
They throw the ball and they hit you. You're trying to get out of the way, and it still hits you, and it ends up being that one thing. I did a commercial job for a thing called Rent a Center.
Yeah.
So Rent a Center, they and it's I think it's an Illinois-based place.
I've seen them. Yeah.
Right. So you rent a TV, you rent a washer, dryer, whatever. So I go in and there's a script and it's like 6 pages. I'm like, 6 pages? What the hell?
Commercial?
Come for a commercial. It was a lot of description though. And I thought, oh, that's 6 pages because it's a ton of description. And so it's George Wendt, the dude from Cheers.
Oh, nice.
And so I go in and I'm the salesman and he's the dude and he's watching TV at the store. And I'm like, "Hey man, is it the store? You want to buy whatever?" We end up watching TV together, eating popcorn, and because I make popcorn in the thing and wash his clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
Go home. I get a call. They said, so this one commercial, they just turned into 6 spots.
Yeah.
6 spots. And so you never know. The simplest of things can be the
Yes.
hugest of things. And then the hugest of things, I've been in productions and things where I had a really big part, and then I watch it and I'm like,
Where did it go?
I'm hardly in that thing. Okay, there's my ear. You can see
Well,
my ear, but that's about
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And
You know,
so,
the whole must join for SAG.
mhm,
You know how you get the 2 waivers and then it's the must join.
right.
Well, I mean, I don't know what your thing is with SAG, joining SAG, but for me, I tell people don't join until you have to, because it's just so
Right.
expensive.
Right.
And but for people that don't know about, joining SAG, the union, SAG after is the union, and you have to join it if you want to work. And my must join came with, it was one of my worst auditions ever. It was a co-star for a brand new show called Mr. Robot, and it was the first season. I had 102 fever that day, and I did not want to miss out on this audition. I don't even think the show was already on. It wasn't on yet. I go in there, say my lines. I went home, passed out, forgot about it. I completely forgot about it. And I ended up getting it. It's just like when people say, like, like, man, I crushed that audition, I should get it, and you don't get it. But then it's just like someone's like, oh, that was a shitty audition, and you end up getting it. It's usually those that you think like, meh, and then you get it. Well, I get it, and it's the last scene of that first season, and it's with Rami Malek. And I tell people, if you listen to the first episode of this podcast, it's like, I don't want to say that I was responsible for his upward trajectory, because he did win an Academy Award after that, but I am, I was that inspiration that he needed. So much so that was my must join. And I had to pay the $3,300 to join SAG. And that was mid-July. So it was in the middle. This is a learning lesson. So I paid that, and I did this whole scene. And like I said, like, I think I inspired him a little bit too much that they edited my scene out. And I was just like,
No.
God, I just spent all this money and they edited me out. It was awful. And I also didn't know that they charge you dues like back in November too. And it's twice a year, and it just blows my mind. But that was so heartbreaking that happened. But things happen for a reason, and I was able to work a couple of movies in September, and it piled on. And yeah, I've been edited out of a few things, but even when you get edited out, sometimes you can, especially with TV shows, like with the Blacklist, I had a one-liner turned into a bigger scene with James Spader, later on, because I got edited out of that first episode, and then I came back. But you're right. And like with me, I had that like kind of like the Rent-A-Center sort of experience, which was the commercial that Cosentix commercial with Cyndi Lauper. In 2017, I had gotten that job already. I was playing Cyndi Lauper's driver for this, and the call time was noon. And I'll always remember this because it was raining, and you don't drive in New York, you walk. So I was walking through rain. It was pouring, and they have the trailer. We're outside of the Hit Factory, where the commercial of this first spot was, she's feeling good about herself because she has Cosentix. She doesn't have to deal with plaque psoriasis anymore because she has this medicine, and she's recording. And the end of the day, she's recorded, and now she's leaving. I'm supposed to drive her away, right? Well, I get there at noon. It's hurry up and wait. Waited. And about 5:30, actually, no, I got there at noon. They broke for lunch, and I sat with the clients in like one of the recording rooms. Like, this is where they had the lunch table set up in the recording studios. And so I sat with the clients, and I was just like chatting them up, and then waited until about 6. And the PA comes in. He's like, oh, Jorge, man, we're really sorry, but Cindy's tired, and we're just not going to shoot you out today. So you'll still get paid for the day, but sorry, man, that it happens. And I'm like, womp womp. So I was just like, oh man. And so that was 2017. Fast forward to 2019. My daughter's born, and a few days later, I get this audition. It says, "Hey, it's this plaque psoriasis commercial with Cyndi Lauper playing her driver." And I told my agents, I've already done this. I've already booked this. So I have to audition again. They're like, oh, shoot, that's right. You did do this.
Right.
So much so that I go into the audition room. Casting director was like, this is a casting director I see almost weekly, because
Right.
in New York, there's mainly 3 offices that do
Right.
casting for commercials. It's just
Right.
like the main commercial people. Yeah, it's there's 3 points on the south part of the island. And it's they said, Jorge, are you really Cyndi Lauper's driver? I'm like, no, you cast me in this 2 years ago. Like, and they're like, that's right. So guess what? I didn't get it right away. I still had to go to callbacks for this. And even at the callbacks, the clients remember me and stopped to talk to me and ask how I was doing since the last time. And I'm thinking to myself, am I really going through this whole thing? And sure enough, I ended up getting it. And the clients apologized about the last time. And they said, we're going to shoot you out first so we can make sure we get your stuff this time. And thankfully that was the one job that I needed that would carry us over during this dead time. You know what I mean? There's just like, it's like, and it just got extended for 21 more months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. I hope I don't, I hope it's not the case where I'm not working for 21 more months, because that'd be 4-year hiatus. But I have to be thankful because that commercial came in when I needed it most. And I think that's what this industry, like the right things will find you. You know what I mean? I think at that point, where, whenever you need that work, it will find you. The right parts will find you. Because you don't want to just do anything.
Well, you know what?
I've done stuff.
Right.
Like that.
Well, what I tell young talent also is, especially if I see them, okay, they're young, they're dedicated, they know what they're doing. They're pretty much where they need to be at that point, right? They're not great yet, but they're on the way, right?
Yes.
What I tell them is, look, you will work. You will find there is so much work that you're going to stumble onto a job.
Yes.
You will work.
Yes.
The question is, how long can you sustain that? How much do you know? How much talent do you have? How much skill do you have to be able to then take that one job and move from there and go to the next and 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 the next? Because that's what it's about. It's not just that one thing, because probably that one thing, maybe even that first thing, you might not even be in. They might cut you out. They might just show your ear. You might have a great part, but you probably won't become famous. Even if you do become famous, and that might be the worst thing that happened to you.
Fame is
you
always
become
fleeting.
completely famous on your very, very first thing, because then what the hell do? You got no freaking idea what you're doing, right? But how do you make sure that you're going to sustain in the industry, and how do you pay for tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after? Again, I look in the mirror and I try and be as honest as I can. One of the things that was on the upside for you is perhaps the COVID thing, although what it meant was you're not going out, but guess what? Nobody else is going out either.
Exactly. No one was.
And guess what? There are no other commercials being filmed. And guess what that means? That means your commercial is going to get shown a whole bunch for a long time.
And that's what happened. Yeah.
So exactly. But in the reality of all of it is, our business is like anything else. We move through fluctuations. One time we're really good. Sometimes we're really bad. There's a lot of gang member parts. Everybody's working. There's not a lot of gang member parts. Nobody's working. There's, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so look at the whole situation and be real with it. Do you have enough money? Are you good with money? That's one of the things
people need to understand that first and foremost.
Yeah. You need to be able to put it in the bank or put it in the places you need to. You need to not live very extravagantly. You need to do the things you want to do. Acting has to be the most important thing in your life. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And if it isn't, then reevaluate. I mean, if it's your son and your daughter, okay, I get that, right?
Yeah.
But aside from that, aside from wife and family, this thing has to be the most important thing in your life so that you can dedicate yourself to it and be successful at it.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you something. When you are successful at it, and when you start working with these people, the reason that New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and Paris and Rome and all these very large places have these concentration of artists, of movie makers, of painters, of novelists, of all this kind of thing. The reason people move to these places is so they can work with these people.
Yes.
And it is amazing when you get on a really, really high-end production that has a lot of these people and some low-end productions as well, because as artists, a lot of these people just want to work.
Yes.
And you will do $1 million production so that you can then do a $10,000 production for free.
Yep.
Because you love the production, because
Yes.
you just love that.
Yes.
And so in that world, in this amazing creative world that you jump into, you find your place and you try and find a rotation, kind of like baseball, kind of like being a baseball pitcher, right? Or perhaps you are the shortstop, or perhaps you're a position player, or perhaps of whatever. Just get in the freaking game. Start participating in this world that's going to put you in contact with these amazing individuals with these great ideas that are trying to make these films that are going to contribute to the world, or TV series, or theater, or whatever it is. And so that you are constantly moving, constantly growing, constantly moving forward.
Yeah.
Because when you stop and you stagnate, you kind of start growing roots and you kind of stop moving. And then that's when you start moving towards the end.
Yes.
You gotta constantly move.
I think that's one negative part about the pandemic, was that I wasn't able to keep doing that. The one thing that was the blessing in this, I mean, also I'm in the Valley as well, where it's not, a heavy film community. And even if I did manage to shoot something with Manny, who helped out on Gone Hollywood. But I had to figure out, how am I going to stay sharp? How do I do this? And luckily, a good friend of mine who is also from the Valley, but is in New York, and he has an acting class, and we're doing scenes weekly, every Sunday night. I'm in a class working scenes. And that has been one of the things that helps me stay sharp. And I'm ready for any self-tape that comes up, and that you're absolutely right. It's constantly figuring out how to stay creative.
Yeah. Well, what I just,
an idea just wait for it to fall into your hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. An idea that just crossed my head when you were talking about the audition and the job that you got twice.
Yeah.
Was Groundhog Day. I wonder if you could do a short, like a 3-minute short, where, and that's the base. It's that audition. Actor keeps walking into the audition, and something different happens. And then the next day, it's the same audition, and the actor walks into the audition, and something different happens. Maybe perhaps a different person gets cast.
Yeah.
And you revolve around that. That'd be really interesting to do.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And here's the other thing. It's not just about working. It's about being in that environment where you can sit around and have conversations like this with other individuals who are doing what it is that you're trying to do. Because when that happens, is you realize you're not in this by yourself.
Yeah.
You're not in this alone. There are other people who are doing it. And there are other people who feel just as passionate about the stuff that you're doing as you do. And that brings you hope. And that makes you think, okay, I'm not going through this by myself. One of the things about the Rio Grande Valley, people talk about the Rio Grande Valley and trying to make it another Hollywood. It was never going to be another Hollywood. There's only one Hollywood. And it's not so much that the Rio Grande Valley is bad. The Rio Grande Valley doesn't have what Hollywood has. And so it'll never be that. And having shot down there, I also understand that the physical problems of shooting down there are beyond what Hollywood has. In Hollywood, we have 300 days of perfect weather. And so you don't get that anywhere else. And so that's the main reason. But here's the other thing. The Rio Grande Valley has something that Hollywood does not have. The Rio Grande Valley is a place that's existed for hundreds and thousands of years in pretty much kind of sort of the same way it has for a long time.
Yes.
And so what that is that's an incubator. And it's incubated this particular culture, these particular rhythms, these particular morals, this particular immigration pattern, this particular everything in this particular place. And it's become completely unique. And the one thing about showing the world and having people interested in things is when that thing is completely unique, when there's only one of, when it's the only one, when it's a particular thing that's completely formed in and of itself, lived over here by itself, and grown into this thing. The world produces really amazing stories. Amazing stories. Add the fact that you're on the border, add the fact that you have immigration, add all of these other cultural things into there, and you have stories that have not been told that are over the top, completely over the top. You know, stories of a woman being executed in Edinburgh, hung at the what's now the museum.
The museum, yeah.
Stories of the walkout at Cachaça in 1968.
The Mark Kilroy thing,
dude. In '68, they walked out because they weren't allowed to speak Spanish in school. They were actually beaten and stuff, right? So they kicked them out. The superintendent said, "We're going to kick you out. We're going to suspend you. We're going to do all this kind of stuff if you don't come back." They said, "No, blah, blah." Huge thing where the news went down there and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, big time stories. One of the original stories, and this might have already been told, was the first person who had to go across the border to get there was an abortion rights, and so that story's down there as well. Santa Ana going all the way through down there, do it when all the war was going on. The fact that it's had 6 different countries, all these things, all of these amazing things. And so you and I both understand that in order to make a very good movie, a very good series, a very good anything, you need to start with the story and the script.
Absolutely.
And that's the diamond. And that is what's buried in the Rio Grande Valley. And the individual who discovers that, who figures out where that is going to be extremely successful. Extremely successful.
I agree 100%. And I've spent a lot of a good portion of this whole pandemic and year that I've been here thinking about that a lot. And I've actually talked it over with like Ricardo Chavira and Tanya Saracho, who has a new production company. And, you know, the main thing that they say is that the valley's too hot to shoot. But at some point, with that being said, with the amount of land that we have, the amount of growth, like, man, like every time, like you can attest to this. Every time you come down here, it's a different valley. It's a much different valley. And what I see happening in the next 10 years, I mean, the whole thing, I'm on the fence about the whole Elon Musk thing, and, you know, telling people to move down to Brownsville, but he's donating money and trying to get things going to Brownsville with his intentions are, they're probably all personal, you know, and selfish. But that being said, the potential to have our own little mini Hollywood, we could build studio space. There's studios. There's if you go all along Military Highway, there's industrial parks that could easily be converted into studio spaces. I mean, in Brooklyn, they did that with the old shipyards. I mean, when I did Ray Donovan, when I did Divorce, they used the old, you know, shipyards as studio space, you know, Silver Cup Studios in Queens. Like, why can't they do that in the Valley? And you're right. The Valley has such unique stories. And the way I describe the Valley is like, it's not Texas, it's not Mexico, it's the Rio Grande Valley. We're our own beautiful culture down here. And the one thing that I'm tired of seeing is the negative portrayal of the border and Valley. It's always about cartels, drugs. It's what you see on TV all the time. You know, there's like that story you said about the big dreams, little balls. Like, we're people, you know, with dreams, and there's a lot more going on in the Valley. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to work on is create something that paints the Valley in a brighter light. You know what I mean? And I think the stories are there, and we have enough people now in the industry that can make things like in all areas, whether they're producers, whether there's writers, I mean, you have David Blue Garcia and Rick Diaz. You know, David is from Harlingen. Ricky, he graduated a year before him at Sherryland.
Mhm.
You know, they just redid the reboot for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Ricky's in the camera. You know, David's directing. Tanya Saracho just did Vida. You know, Raul's gonna be in a ton of movies coming out this year. Raul Castillo. You know, you've been working at this forever. You know, David Barrera has been doing this. There's just a ton of people. Mando Alvarado. You know, Michael Reyes Camilla. You know, they've brought movies down here. They've shot movies down here. You know, you've shot movies down here. It's just I'd love to see more of that, because we do have think about this. Within a 2-hour drive, you can have a beach to mountains. How crazy is that? Beach, brush, mountains, desert, all in the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, you can if you shoot November, October, and March, April, maybe. You know,
yeah, we had a cool front this weekend. It got down to the 60s. You could have done that. Yeah,
you could have done that. But now here's the deal. Yeah, yes, you can build a studio, but you're far from talent. You're far from equipment. You're far from all of this. So
entertainment for
what
the
you
talent.
need you need is a huge initial investment, and then enough money to work 3, 4, 5 years before your studio is booked fully so that it can support itself.
Yes.
Now, the other thing that you need is you need the land, and you need power, and you need equipment, and you need all of the physical things that you need for that. So yeah, it's possible, but
it's gonna take Papa Elon can do that.
Oh well, yeah, Elon could, and 30 million would certainly be enough to start a studio.
Yeah,
but I don't. It wouldn't take that much. I mean,
no.
You know, why not get 1,000 acres just north of Edinburgh, or just north of San Marcos, or between San Marcos and or not San Marcos,
San Manuel.
San Manuel.
Yeah.
1,000 acres, build a solar farm, have your solar farm power your warehouse that you're going to build as a studio. And I'm saying warehouse because then you need to insulate it, and you need to make it into a studio so you can supply the air conditioning. And the solar farm is so that you can supply the air conditioning, because you always need the air conditioning down there. Okay,
especially after
that would
this
work.
winter fiasco that we had, where the power grid.
How crazy is that?
It was nuts. It was,
and they were still saying that they were still having problems. That they wanted to try brownouts or something like that.
They're nuts.
No, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I think that if you had a writer who had 3 or 4 different stories, and you had enough pull, you could somehow manage all of that energy into a producer or a benefactor who would bring in.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine it being anything less than like $5 million or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can shoot a movie pretty inexpensively, but to build a studio,
you need,
that's a whole lot of other you run into a whole lot of the problems. You know, if you're talking about shooting a motion picture, and you're talking about shooting, even if you cut the timeline, the normal timeline, in half. So let's say you go with like 20 days. You're shooting, you want to go 20 days. You're probably talking about, at least, if you want to pay the people that are working, if you want to pay your actors, if you want to pay your blah, 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 and if you want to go union or non-union, and there are ways around where you can work concurrently, both union and non-union people working on the same thing in a particular contract, you're paying your people very minimum amounts, maybe $100 a day, kind of like that. Then you're probably talking somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 to make a movie.
Yeah. Man, here we go. What happened here? Oh no. Oh no. We froze here. Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there
we're
we
going
go.
back and forth.
There we go. We're
So
good.
basically, long story is, it takes a lot of money, even for
Yeah.
a little bitty small budget movie. It takes a lot of money. Now it's possible. It's possible. And but again, I go back to the same point over and over again. If you're gonna spend money on a script. Spend money on a script. So do you have money? Do you have an idea?
Yeah.
Instead of going to try and make a movie, go find a writer.
Yeah.
Give him money and let him write the script.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the thing that's going to bring you people. If the script is good.
Yeah.
If the script is good.
Yeah.
If the script is good or great, people will kill themselves to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's like what you were talking about earlier. You were speaking about how like actors are willing to do like these throwaway movies for a lot of money. So it's almost to do these smaller movies for free almost.
Yeah.
It's almost the same saying as, I do TV to feed my theater habit, this sort of thing. But now they're doing that for indie films.
Yeah.
And, I did a couple of those. I did, one with Kiefer Sutherland and Michelle Pfeiffer, where, man, I don't even know what happened to that movie. And that was just like, it was just a small, it was a SAG, low budget film.
Mm-hmm.
But these actors are willing to do that because the script was that good.
Yeah.
And that's happening more and more because those are becoming more of the prestige films,
right?
Because they're not as regulated, because studios are also, I mean, you see this in LA all the time. It's either a franchise, a Marvel film, or a huge Disney film, so a lot of those prestige films that the studios are doing are now limited to like maybe one or two a year. But now you have production houses like A24 and others that specialize in that. And so actors are willing to say, hey, I want to do a good festival movie, a Sundance movie or a TIFF movie or a Tribeca film that's really going to get me, where I could do the art that I want to do, tell the stories that I want to tell without, a Harvey Weinstein or, a big super producer popping in there and dictating how it's going to be.
Right.
And that happens a lot.
Well, and also do a movie where I have some dialogue rather than just shoot a gun and run the thing and just jump in the volcano and then do the canoe and then do the airplane and
Yes.
How about a movie where I get to sit and have a conversation with another dude about something, How about that? How about, and so as an actor, you always think that you can do all kinds of things. I can do all kinds of things. I can be mean. I can be happy. I can be sad. I can be angry. All kinds of things. And so it's also a good idea to stretch yourself in different ways because every single character you play has a ton of facets. Yeah. Every single character can be mean or can be happy or can be whatever. And so when you go to these places, it's like training. Constantly training. When you're working, you're training. When you're working, you're training. You're paying attention. You're open to all of the stuff that's going on. But you know what, George? I gotta go, brother.
I understand that. Yeah, thank you for joining me.
Maybe you could do a two-parter.
well, yeah, please come back whenever. Like, I love this conversation, and this is a conversation I really meet on a personal thing, especially after like the last 6 weeks going. It's given me a little bit more insight into my personal career and my life journey. Right. And as always, thank you for the advice and just for your thoughts on just acting, and see someone so excited about acting, no matter what it is. It's awesome to see that, where we're talking about acting and not as much of the business. You know what I mean? Like doing the work, and that work begets work. And thank you so much. And can we find you anywhere on social media so people can look you up?
So Viguez on Instagram, or Valentes as well on Instagram. You can go to either of those. And then there's some stuff on Dad Stop Embarrassing Me. We're putting out some. So Dad Stop Embarrassing Me on Netflix, the new Jamie Foxx show. That was doing really, really well. And then I'm actually working on Monday. I'm doing a small film, a cameo kind of thing. And then where else could you find me? I think that's it. I think
Okay.
that's it. Facebook, I think,
Yeah.
is public. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody watching, you could follow and check this out on YouTube under my channel under Jorge Chapa. Just look up Jorge's Isolation Podcast. And this is Valente Rodriguez. On Instagram, you can find me at Jorge's Isolation Podcast or Jorge Chapa 11, or on TikTok under official Jorge Chapa. I'll dance here and there. I'm addicted to TikTok. I'm not going to lie, but it's mainly all the cooking videos that they have on TikTok. There's so much cooking stuff. And we can talk about this on the next episode.
Next time we'll do a cooking one.
Yes.
Seriously. No,
Yes.
seriously. Next time I'll do a cooking one.
Because I know you cook. And
I
then
do.
I'm addicted to cooking videos and cooking and barbecuing. So thank you again for joining us. Everybody have a good one. Please take care of each other. Be safe out there and enjoy the weather. It's been nice out. Take care.
Yeah.